Good stuff. Well, welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all. And yeah, nice to have a bit of sunshine today. Hope we've all been making the most of that and being mindful in the sunshine. So we've got new faces, so welcome to new faces, which is always nice. We've done quite well recently. I think every week for the last couple of months we've had one or two new faces come on, which is good, and people coming back as well, which is always a better sign that people aren't scared off. Okay, so for your benefit, the purpose. Is it a purpose? The aim of the Mindfulness Group is really just to enable people to develop their own mindful practice. As I was saying to you earlier, it's not a program. You know, there are some people that run a program, whereas the approach that we take here is it's a bit more gentle and it's more drip feed. And every week we do some exercises to help practice mindfulness, with the hope that people then, during the week as they go away, bring that into their own lives and practice elements of it throughout the day, to cultivate their own practice. And then there's a topic every week where we have a bit of just a general chat around a theme more than anything. And the theme for this week was grafting, or grafting for you southerners. And I'll talk more about that later. Do you know anything about mindfulness at all?
Well, I have read up a bit, so I have
a bit of it. Right, okay, so you know that it's all about being in the present moment.
Yes.
You know, the past has gone, we can't do anything about the past, we can't change the past, so there is very little point in certainly no point in worrying about it, and there's very little point at all in going over it and ruminating on it, because it's gone, you can't change it. Then the future hasn't happened yet. And whilst we can speculate about what might happen in the future, and also we can make plans for the future, again, we shouldn't worry about what's going to happen in the future, mainly because if we do, you know, make predictions for the future, more often than not, they don't turn out to match. So it's really just about being in the present moment, because this moment in time is the only moment in time that we have to experience being alive. And being alive is by far the most important and special thing that we have. And what can happen is, if you don't develop the ability to be aware of the present moment, time passes you by. And you get to that point when you're lying there on your deathbed and you do think, oh, hang on, I don't actually remember, you know, I don't feel as if I've lived, I don't, you know, what have I achieved? And whilst, I might talk about this a bit more later on, you know, whilst we hope that we will have a successful life, the most successful life you can have when you do get to the end point is one where you have experienced it, and where you have lived it, and you have felt alive, and can look back and think, yes, I've had a life, I've experienced life, I've been aware of being alive. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire or a pauper when it comes to the end of it, if you can, you know, because you can't take it with you. That's not the measure of success, that's not the measure of happiness. The measure of happiness is being able to feel that you've had an experienced life. And you can only do that by being aware of it during it. And that's what mindfulness is about. It's about being aware of this moment so that you can experience life. Right. Before we get on to think about grafting, and what that means and what it has to do with mindfulness, we'll start with an exercise, and then we'll take it from there. Now, what I think we'll do, we haven't done the clapping for a while, so we'll do the clapping. I don't actually. Some of you may not have done that before. Now this is quite a nice little exercise. It's very, very simple. This isn't really one that you can practice on your own. It does certainly work better in a group setting. But the aim is that we all clap together, and you follow my lead. I clap, and you clap at the same time. And the aim is that it doesn't sound like 8 people randomly clapping. It's one clap.
We'll see.
Honestly, you'll be surprised, Jess. You'll be surprised.
Are you going to count us in?
Am I going to? No. You just have to be aware. That's the whole purpose of it. It's about developing that awareness.
Don't keep moving your hands because we think you're going to clap.
Well, that's the thing. I have to resist the urge to do that, and the urge is always very strong. But I've not succumbed yet. So, if you would adopt the position as if you are ready to clap your hands, and all you do is when you are aware of me clapping, you clap. It's simple. It's that simple. Honestly, you'll see. Right. You see, the first one's always rubbish.
We thought it was good.
It'll get better, honestly. Watch. You just wait and see. Right. Here we go. See? That was a good one. And as you wait for me to clap, you can also become aware of your breath. So you can just be aware of breathing in between the claps. We'll do one more. So some of the exercises that we do are about engaging the senses, and we maybe do that one later on. The clapping one's nice. I saw it. It was a television program. It was a band that did it, and it was kind of a team building, team bonding little routine that they did. And I watched them do it, and I thought, actually, what that really is, it's a little mindful exercise. It's about being aware. It's about losing the veils, and about losing that tendency to predict. It's just about being aware of me, aware of the clap, and just being in the moment. One clap at a time, and just being aware, being focused. So that's why I introduced that, because it helps to cultivate awareness. Right, so the topic for this week is grafting. And when I first was thinking about it, I was thinking in terms of work, hard work, labour. And in terms of mindfulness, there is an element of, I suppose, hard work to it. Anything, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice, you have to work at it. If you want to be successful at something, you have to. There's an element of hard work that goes along with it. Very few people that are successful at something do it. There are people, they do it easily, and they make it look easy. But there is a level of hard work that comes along there. You think about. I always think about a famous sportsmen. You think about people that are at the height of their game. Snooker players like Ronnie O'Sullivan or Lewis Hamilton, the racing driver. They make it look incredibly easy, and they are exceptionally good at what they do. And they are very talented. They obviously have an element of natural ability, obviously. but they wouldn't be where they are. They wouldn't be as successful as they are if they didn't work at it, if they didn't graft at it. You know, if Ronnie O'Sullivan didn't put in all those hours on the table practicing his snooker, he wouldn't have been world champion 5 times, or however many times it is. You know, Lewis Hamilton, as a racing driver, if he just rocked up on a Sunday, grabbed his car keys and off he, I don't think they have car keys, do they? No, if he just rocked up on a Sunday, popped his helmet on and off he went, he probably wouldn't be, you know, reigning world champion. There's an element of hard work that goes along with it. And the same is true with being mindful and I suppose not being good at being mindful, because that's not what it's about. It's not a competitive thing. It's not about who's the best at being mindful. I certainly wouldn't advocate that or expect you to think along those lines. You know, it's not the case that there are some people here that are better at being mindful than others. It doesn't work like that. But because mindfulness is a very personal thing, you know, only you can experience, only you can have your experience of this present moment. We are all experiencing this moment, but your experience of it is your experience of it. You know, I'm experiencing it differently to you. So it's quite a personal thing. But your ability to be aware does fluctuate. You know, there will be times when you are more aware than others, and the aim should be that you are more aware more of the time. You know, then I suppose that is the measure of it. Then you could say I am more mindful. I am better at being mindful, and that comes with an element of practice. That's why they say cultivate your practice, develop your practice being mindful. And there's an element of work that goes with that. You do have to practice regularly if you can. But that practice doesn't need to be hours of meditation. You don't have to sit and focus on your breath for 3 hours every day. If you've got the time to do that, then fantastic, go for your life. You know, that would be great, and that would be, you know, that would be a perfect way to really work at it and really develop your awareness and master the art of being mindful. But for the majority of people, that's just not practical. We don't have that amount of time. So it's about developing skills to bring your awareness to the present moment frequently, rather than doing it for any great length of time, but doing it frequently throughout the day. So we'll do some more exercises in a short while, which are shorter. We can think about how you can bring your awareness, to the moment frequently throughout the day, because then by grafting at being mindful, your own practice will develop and you will find it easier. Because that's the thing about mindfulness, is it's incredibly simple. Incredibly simple. You know, the exercise that we've just done, clapping your hands, is a mindful exercise, and it doesn't really get much simpler than clapping your hands. You know, later on we'll focus on our breath. I did it when I asked you to be aware of your breath when we were clapping, because being aware of breathing is a very simple thing to do. It's a very, very mindful thing to do, but it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's not easy to do it for a length of time, and it's not easy to bring your awareness to your breath regularly throughout the day. But the more you do it, the more you work at it, then the easier it does become. Okay. Let's engage our senses. So when we did the clapping, obviously you had to bring your awareness to your senses. You had to be watching what I did, and I'm sure that you're also listening as well. You are listening to the sound of the clap and hearing it adjust and go from being a little bit ramshackle to actually more unified and clapping in unison. And you were probably aware of that as you listened. And the aim of bringing the awareness to your senses is that it's your senses that tell you where you are in space and time. Tell you what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can feel, tells you what's going on around you and outside of you. And you can start there, and then you can become a little bit more introspective and become aware of maybe what's happening internally. But the senses is a good place to start. So we'll do that now, and then we'll think about grafting a little more. So we begin by just looking, seeing what we can see in this moment right now. And I always complicate things because I say, you don't have to identify objects. And as soon as I say you don't have to identify objects, then people immediately start going, oh, well, that's the window, and that's the corner, and that's the... But really, it's just about looking. It's just about seeing what you can see, taking in colours, just allowing visual information, allowing the light into your eyes as it is at this moment. And then when you've had a look around, if you would like to, you may close your eyes and you can bring your awareness to what you can feel. So first and foremost, you can feel the weight of your body sitting. Maybe you can feel the pressure of the chair against your back. You can feel your spine. As you become aware of your spine, maybe you can just allow it to just straighten slightly. Feel yourself becoming a little more dignified and feel gravity pulling down through the spine, from the top of your head in a nice straight line all the way down into your bottom. Be aware of your bottom in contact with the seat. And as you're aware of that drawing down of gravity down through the spine and through the bottom, you're also aware of it in the shoulders. So aware of gravity in the shoulders and down through the arms. And it's always nice at this point to become aware of any tension that you may be holding in the neck and in the shoulders. Be aware of that relaxing slightly. Aware of the shoulders relaxing and the arms relaxing. Be aware of your feet in contact with the floor. Aware of the clothes against your skin. And perhaps even aware of the very faint movement of air on your face, your neck, or your hands. Just ever so slight. A moment ago, I asked you to be aware of any tension that maybe you're holding in the neck and shoulders. And here's an opportunity now to just be aware of any tension or discomfort that there may be elsewhere in your body. Don't go searching for it, just be aware of any that is there. And just sit with it for a while. And next, take a nice breath through the nose and just be aware of smell. You're not trying to smell anything in particular, just being aware that in this moment you are smelling. Then become aware of taste. The taste in your mouth in this moment in time. And finally, become aware of sound and aware of hearing and listening. If you find that your mind wanders, that's okay. That's what minds do. Just be aware that perhaps thoughts and ideas have crept in, and just go back to listening. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. Now, in terms of being aware of the present moment, it's not possible to be aware of absolutely everything that's going on around you in this moment. It's just not possible. You know, there's so much. It's almost impossible. be aware of all of it. So the practice of mindfulness is about, I suppose, selecting what it is that you're going to bring your awareness to. And the hard work, the grafting, is that constant bringing the awareness to some aspect of the present moment, whether it's what you can feel. You know, I talk about, you know, when you're washing the dishes, if you aren't lucky enough to have a dishwasher, you know, bring your awareness to the sensation of having your hands in the water, and the bubbles and the cloth and whatever. You know, if you're eating, bringing your awareness to various aspects of that, so the sounds, or the texture, the taste, working your way through the senses as you do that. And that's really where the practice comes in, that's where the graft comes in, is just practicing, just constantly bringing your awareness to some element of the present moment. If you're walking along on the pavement, aware of your feet moving and the movement of your legs and the sound of your feet in contact with the floor, and just doing that over and over again just helps to develop that awareness and that practice. And then when I was thinking about graft and grafting, and I decided to actually look up the definition of the word, I realised that there's another meaning, more, I suppose, in a horticultural sense, where you take a graft of a plant, you can graft plants together, or you know, you can have a skin graft, you can graft skin and heal. If you had a nasty burn or something like that, then maybe you would have a skin graft and it would heal it. And that got me thinking about that sense of the word from a mindful perspective, and it seemed quite appropriate. So, I mean, in terms of, you know, a skin graft, they don't do it to hide something. It's not that, oh, we'll just stick some, keep pointing that bit, it could be over here, it could be over. You don't put the skin on to hide what was there. It's there to heal it. It's there to make it good, to refresh it, to make it new. And the same with a plant. You know, they'll maybe have a rootstock with a stem. They do it with topiaries. So they'll have a rootstock and a stem coming up, and then they'll take a box bush or something like that, and they'll graft it onto the top. They'll bind it up, and then it'll become one plant, and it will grow, and it will continue to grow. And it's not about hiding something. It's about creating something and about enabling something to grow and enabling something to be beautiful and to live. And I began thinking about that in terms of mindfulness, because mindfulness is not about covering things up. You know, sometimes if people because people turn to mindfulness often because they are maybe struggling with anxiety or things like that, because it's particularly good at helping where people are unhappy or they have anxiety or they're stressed. And you don't practice mindfulness to cover it up. It's not about hiding it. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's about confronting it. It's about embracing it. It's about being aware of the discomfort, the anxiety, the unhappiness, being aware of it so that you can understand it and then move forward from it. So bringing mindfulness into your being, bringing mindful practice into your life is a nice image. It's kind of like the grafting of a plant together, because you bring it to your life, you graft it to your being, to your everyday experience of the world. And then it enables you to grow, and enables you to flourish, enables you to heal, rather than hiding away from things or doing it to escape. It's certainly not about escapism. It's about enabling you to flourish, about enabling you to grow. So I felt that was quite a nice image. You know, if you take mindful practice, you bring it to your being, it's kind of like grafting it into what you do on a day-to-day basis. So where I was talking about bringing your awareness to whatever it might, to some aspect of the present moment, whatever that might be. That's what you're doing. You're grafting mindful practice into your day-to-day activities, your being. It's not about doing something, it's about bringing it to your being, if that makes sense. Okay.
Do you think it's got a form of therapy though, Jim?
Oh, definitely.
As in, not escaping,
Yeah.
but resting from what you're encountering or what you're experiencing.
Yeah, well, in terms of sort of that rest, I certainly find personally, for me, that mindfulness gives you a rest from the noise that happens in the mind, because our brains have a tendency to constantly just be churning away, thinking about this, thinking about that, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, worrying about this, worrying about that, constantly giving you a commentary as to what's going on and why you feel this way, and your ego's always, you know, squawking away in the background, either telling you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, or telling you that you're rubbish and useless, because that's the other thing that ego does. You know, ego isn't just about being arrogant. Ego also puts you down. So when you have those doubts and all those kinds of thoughts, that's an action of ego. And all of that activity is very wearing. And that is what tends to cause the most stress and anxiety for people, is that constant noise that happens in the mind. Last week I mentioned a book that I'm reading, Professor Steve Peters, who's the psychiatrist who works with, in fact he works with Ronnie O'Sullivan, it's apt that I should have mentioned him earlier, works with him, works with the cycling teams, and he talks, the book is about the chimp paradox, and he talks about that part of the brain, which is a very primal part of the brain, and he refers to it as the chimp, and it's always chattering away, and it's the very emotional part of our thinking. You know, it's the chimp that responds emotionally to things. When if somebody says something to us that we find upsetting, generally it's the chimp portion of the mind which responds to it, and gets hurt and generates all that fuss. The more human side, I guess the more mindful side, is the part of the mind that actually would respond to it a little bit calmly and say, well, actually, no, maybe they don't mean it like that. You know, they've obviously had a hard day, and yes, mindfulness allows you to almost take a break from that chimp chattering away. So certainly, I think there's a definite therapeutic quality to it. I often bring, you know, I see people, I provide therapy for people. You know, I do hypnotherapy, and I bring a lot of mindfulness to it. You might think that hypnosis and mindfulness would be polar opposites. You know, where hypnosis is about, you know, being in a somnambulistic state, if that's a word, is it? Kind of, you know, maybe being cataleptic. Whereas mindfulness is about being very aware and acutely aware of what's going on. You might think that they are polar opposites, but I have found that actually there's a lot of crossover. And actually, I tend to start by making people more mindful, and then from there it's a lot easier. It's actually a lot easier to hypnotise somebody if they're going from a state of mindfulness, because they're aware and they're open and responsive. So when you start talking to them more hypnotically, there's less in the way. You know, that chimp is not chattering away, and it's much easier to work therapeutically. So yes, definitely, that's there. Right, okay. Let's do some breathing now. The breath is by far the best mindful tool that we have at our disposal, because breathing happens in the moment. You're always breathing, it's always there, and it's something that's actually quite easy to become aware of. You can bring your awareness to the air moving in and out of your body, and it's a nice, as if you develop the ability, the practice of bringing your awareness to your breath, it's a nice bridge between what's happening externally and what's happening internally. Because part of mindfulness is not just about looking around and seeing what you can see and hearing what you can hear, being aware of what's going on externally. Mindful practice extends to look internally as well. So you begin to become aware of how you're feeling, what you are thinking, so that by being aware of them, you don't have to understand it. That's the thing. It's not about understanding it. You know, when you are looking around, you don't have to understand everything that you see or understand everything that you can hear. You just have to accept it. Accept that at this moment, that is what you can hear. This moment, this is what I can see. And when you shift your awareness internally, it's not about understanding how you feel, it's just about accepting that at this moment, this is how I feel. And the more you do that, the more you will realise that you feel differently at different times. And so if at one moment you feel particularly rubbish, you bring your awareness to that, you accept that at this moment you feel rubbish, but you know that you're not always going to feel that way, because at other times when you have brought your awareness to how you feel, you've actually felt pretty good. And so it makes it much easier to accept when you feel down, when you feel depressed, because you know that it's just that moment, that at other moments you will feel differently. And that, again, that's something that comes with practice, something that comes by grafting at it, by doing it. I don't like to say doing. Just by practicing, by being mindful more and more, you realise that you will be happy, be sad, be indifferent, whatever, at different points in time. And you just have, the best that you can do is accept it in that moment, and then know that there will be other moments. So I was saying the breath is a nice bridging tool, because obviously our breath is something that goes from being external, the air starts off out here, and then we breathe in and it becomes internal. And we feel the breath within the body, and then we breathe out. And then as we become aware of that, from there we can also then become aware of other aspects happening inside of our being. So it's sort of it can be a nice bridge. It's a good place to start, and it's also, I kind of also compare it to sorbet. You know, if you are eating a meal, they give you sorbet because it cleanses the palate, don't they? And it prepares you for what's happening next. And being aware of the breath is kind of like that, because if that chimp is rattling away in the head and he's squawking and chirping and chattering, you bring your awareness to the breath, and all you're aware of, or if all you are aware of is breathing, then it allows, there's a cleansing action to that. It kind of cleanses the mind of all that noise. So being aware of the breath it's a bit like sorbet for the mind.
It's a good description, actually. I find anyway. Not that I'm an expert.
Well, we all know what sorbet is. Just a slightly rubbish ice cream.
But it does the job.
But it does.
Like
it serves a purpose. Exactly. Whereas the breath is certainly not rubbish ice cream. Okay. So for this, you may close your eyes if you wish. It's entirely up to you. But you just begin by being aware of breathing in and breathing out. And just follow the breath in and out as it happens, moment by moment, breath by breath. And If your mind wanders, you just bring the awareness back to breathing. And as you are aware of the breath and aware of breathing in and breathing out, you can become aware of the third component of the breath, the pause that happens between breaths. You breathe in, you breathe out, and then there is a pause. And then you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and there is another pause. So for the next few moments, just follow that. And be aware of each of those three component parts. Then you can begin to bring some awareness to how you feel. And when you breathe in, feel alive. Be aware that you're breathing in the oxygen that keeps you alive. You're aware of life as you breathe in. As you breathe out, just smile. Breathe in and feel alive. Breathe out and smile alive. Pause, just allow that smile to just dissolve throughout your entire being. So breathe in and feel alive, breathe out and smile alive, and allow that smile to just dissolve in the pause between breaths. And be aware of the fact that in that pause you are just being alive. You're not doing anything, you're not thinking anything, you're just being alive. And at this moment, just being alive, you're absolutely fine. So for the next few moments, just breathe in, feel alive, breathe out and smile. And allow that smile to dissolve in pause. mind wanders, just bring the awareness back. It's breathing in, breathing out, and the pause between breaths. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good week. Keep grafting and keep breathing. And I look forward to seeing you next time or another time, whenever. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care.